My next question for you is, what strategies do you find most effective for managing emotions and your feelings, particularly in the context of like having a chronic illness?
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's gonna be a really simple answer, but it's not actually all that simple. Part of what yoga is about for me is, and one of the biggest lessons that I've learned in yoga is that nothing lasts forever. Nothing, nothing good lasts forever, and nothing painful lasts forever. Um, Everything changes at like within every single moment. And so knowing that nothing is going to be forever, and that somehow it will always change makes it easier to know that this is bearable in the moment. And so I don't know if that makes any sense to you. But when for example, I've talked a lot about this. I had a 14-year-old dog who died in October, just when I was first starting grad school, and I was absolutely devastated. Like I could still cry about how much I miss her. And I just let myself feel the grief as much as I needed to, because I knew that grief wouldn't last forever. And I also felt like that grief, you label things, emotions, good and bad, but none of them are really good and bad. They're all just emotions. They are all just what they are. And so to me, feeling the grief and crying for the loss of this beloved dog that I had for 14 years felt nourishing. It felt really, it was painful, but it felt painful in a way that it was meant to be painful, because I loved her so much and I was so sad to lose her. And then letting myself feel joy when I really feel things, letting myself feel embarrassment when I feel embarrassed, and knowing that nothing lasts forever means that you can let yourself feel it in the moment and know it's not going to. And I've lived long enough and I've had enough experiences to know that I've handled everything that's happened to me in my life. I'm still here. You know, I'm stronger than I've ever been. I'm smarter than I've ever been. You know,
Yeah.
and I'm wiser than I've ever been. And I think I'm a better person every year and every day that goes by. I like myself more. And so I have a resilience in me. I know that I do, but I also know that everybody else has a resilience in them too, because you're alive and you're here and you have survived every single thing in your life, and you're still breathing and you're still here. And some of it is hard and some of it was hard. Some of it was fantastic. But I just truly believe that I can handle I can handle the stuff that life throws at me. And even when it's really hard and I'm frustrated and I'm stressed, that stress isn't going to last forever. The grief isn't going to last forever. The frustration isn't going to last forever. And neither is like the joy and the excitement and the happiness. But if we had joy all the time, it wouldn't feel like joy,
Yeah.
because we'd have it all the time. There's a poem from Khalil Gibran. I'm probably saying that wrong, in The Prophet. And I don't remember the whole poem, but the part that I always quote is, "The deeper that sorrow carves into your soul, the more joy it can contain." So the idea is like a bowl, right? You have this bowl, and it's the more carving that happens to make that bowl deeper, the more you can fill it with. And sometimes it will be full and sometimes it will be empty. So I think that's how I like to live my life, is just knowing that if you just wait for a bit, the bad stuff's going to pass and the good stuff will come again. And I have faith in that. I really trust that, because it's happened every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That brought tears to my eyes. Yeah. Ooh.
Aw.
Ooh.
Hmm.
I swear, Jillian, the things you do to me.
Well, you know I love you. You just You're wonderful.
Yeah. No, I really feel that. I really do. And I mean, I'm 26, you know, like it's different too.
You're just starting.
Yeah,
You got
yeah,
so much ahead of you. It's so
I
exciting.
yeah, but that's the thing too, is that I remember as a teenager, like I remember I think, you know, maybe there was like some friendship drama or, you know, some boy drama,
Mhm.
and it felt like the end of the world. And although I really give, you know, like 12-year-old, 13-year-old Tanya a lot of grace because, you know, yes, like that feeling is very valid at that state where puberty is coming, lots of things are happening, trying to
And it
figure out.
was the end of the world. It was
Yeah.
the end of that world. What you didn't know at the time
Yeah.
because you hadn't survived the end of a world yet was
Hmm.
that when one world ends and the one door closes, another door opens. But
Yeah.
like when one world ends,
Yeah.
there are so many other worlds that we
Hmm.
can, like doors that we can walk through.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I actually I love that. I will use that exact phrasing to my future children.
mhm,
That your world might be crumbling right now, but with those with all of that mass, there will be a rebuilding of a new one and a
mhm.
bigger one.
Yeah. And
And
you're allowed to feel sad
mhm.
and like just distressed and sorrowful, and you're allowed to feel those feelings. You are 100% allowed when you're a teenager, when you're a grown up, when you're whatever,
Yeah.
to feel like your world is ending.
Yeah.
That's and I think the more we tell ourselves that we're not allowed to feel the things that we feel, especially
Mhm.
the so-called bad emotions like anger and
Mhm.
grief and sadness, the ones that don't feel wonderful and lovely. The
Yeah.
more we tell ourselves not to feel that, the longer they stay. What was it that one
Mhm.
of our teachers says? What you resist persists,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I had to write that down.
Hmm.
Glenn, shout out to
Glenn.
Glenn.
I know.
What a
Shout out.
great instructor. Um,
Yeah.
and and I and I really appreciate that you talk to the impermanence of things too, whether it be um, things that are easier to process, such as joy, or more difficult to process, such as grief, and to really see it as creating a safe container within ourselves to let us feel and to let us be with those emotions, and to see them as visitors too.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that as visitors. They're not necessarily going to be taking up residence, even if
Hmm.
they're roommates.
Yeah,
They still don't have,
yeah,
it's still,
yeah,
they,
yeah.
they can be our roommates in there, but
Hmm. Yeah,
things will come and go.
yeah.
I like to think of life as a wheel too. There's that
Hmm.
time, like ancient um, metaphor or an
Hmm.
analogy of the wheel of life, and sometimes you're at the
Hmm.
top, and sometimes you're at the bottom.
Yeah.
I used to have this recurring nightmare when I was a child, young, about a Ferris wheel. I always
Hmm.
think about I'm scared of heights and I'm scared
Hmm.
of Ferris wheels because of that, but I also
Hmm.
really think that they're a really apt
Hmm.
metaphor for what life is like. Sometimes you're
Yeah.
on the way up, sometimes you're right at the top, but whenever you're right at the top, you're going to come
Yeah.
down for a little while.
Yeah.
And the way down
Yeah.
sucks sometimes. And then when you hit the bottom, that kind of sucks sometimes.
Hmm.
But eventually it's going to come back up around.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
and what I'm getting from that metaphor too is that, like, if we were to anticipate, you know, because I do know people, I do know friends that they're like, "Oh, my life is going perfectly right now. Like, I'm just waiting
Mhm.
for everything to go
Mhm.
to crap, essentially, like to complete
Mhm.
shit."
Mhm.
And I mean, I think what I'm also getting is that it's important to be present too, and to be
Mhm.
with whatever it is that's coming up. And that can definitely be difficult for folks who are still new to emotion regulation or talking about their feelings, and really being able to name them too as they come up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's two things I want to say. I think Brene Brown calls that foreboding joy. So the
Mm.
idea that you can't feel any and also the idea that if you feel that joy too much, it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be taken away that much harder.
Mm.
But I think if you approach it that to feel it and experiencing it while you're feeling it,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that 100% it will not last forever. And that's
Yeah.
okay because it will come back in a different form.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then there was something else I was going to say that I forgot.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
foreboding joy, and
Yeah.
what was the other thing? I can't remember.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure it'll come up.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, well, you were talking about it too, especially in terms of the idea of emotions as like roommates. Did you remember what you were gonna say?
I remembered what it
Yeah,
was. Yeah.
tell me.
I remembered what it was. It's that we are raised,
Mm-hmm.
and like, I don't know all cultures, but I know for sure I was raised that you don't feel the bad emotions, you don't express the bad emotions because the bad emotions, quote, bad, are bad. And so we have learned to label them as bad so that when
Mm-hmm.
we feel angry, that we have to
Mm-hmm.
push it down. That when
Yeah.
we feel frustrated or sad or grief or any of the so-called negative emotions,
Mm-hmm.
we need to not feel them, or we need to like only feel them for a short period of time and then go get over it, get over it, get over it. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
cry. Don't cry. It's okay. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's not okay,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's okay that and most of the time when it's not okay, it's okay that it's not okay.
Yeah.
Um, because eventually it will be okay again.
Yeah.
There's that whole wheel
Mm-hmm.
um, of knowing that emotions and everything comes and goes in life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we have
Mm-hmm.
to relearn. And I think that's going to be what our job is in therapy as counselors, to teach people who have been told their whole lives that they're not allowed to be sad, they're not allowed to be depressed, they're not allowed to be
Yeah.
angry, um, that those are all bad. Teaching them that those aren't bad, they're just emotions, and
Yeah.
they're messages from your spirit and your mind
Mm-hmm.
that something isn't right or something is lost.
Mm-hmm.
And teaching people that that's okay to feel those feelings
Yeah.
and to know that they're not going to get stuck in it, that they can just be roommates,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that there are these sensations in our bodies that, if we sit with them, they'll let us know whatever it is that they have to bring us, like these little messages, these directions, these guides.
Mhm.
And sometimes it just is what it is. Like sometimes I'll wake up and I'll just feel sad and low energy for no apparent reason other than it's just one of those days. So we can give things a great story, and we could also give things like a simple story, and it really is whatever is coming up for us at that time.
Yeah. The one thing I will say about the whole emotions, so-called negative emotions as roommates, is that um, there is a time when you can get stuck in them, and that's when
Mm-hmm.
something is definitely wrong that needs to change, and you feel trapped.
Mm-hmm.
Or for me, a huge change in my life was getting on medication for my anxiety and depression.
Mm-hmm.
I think I started taking meds in 2010,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been literally a lifesaver.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's perfect. I don't think it's right for every person,
Mm-hmm.
but I am completely open with how much it has helped me and has changed my life, because I couldn't get out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I do notice if I do forget to take my pills a couple days in a row, I'm just like, something is not right. Like I am not
Mm-hmm.
able to regulate myself.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's one of the things that's a caveat that I wanted to say on
Yeah.
that. Sometimes you need help, and sometimes it's temporary help to get you
Mm-hmm.
through to the other side when
Absolutely.
feeling the feelings is too much.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes for me, like I am fine with the idea that I will be on meds for the rest of my life. There's no downside of that for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I honestly, I also have to um, to kind of owe my life or my health too to medication because when I was diagnosed with Graves in 2022, was I was just super unwell and very sick, and my heart rate was around 130 beats a minute, and I couldn't move much. I was constantly just like exhausted and fatigued, um, and medication has helped me. Medication has brought me to where I am right now, and I'm still on it. And um, oh, I actually need to take it today. Sorry, I just remembered. But yeah, and also I meant to note, like with that, in the heaviness of our emotions, like we also don't have to go through that alone too. Like
Yeah.
there is
Oh, yeah.
community, there is practices that we can do to share whatever it is with others.
I think that's such an important point, and it's so like when we going back again to that feeling, that grief that I had, and still am feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I let myself be absolutely cradled by my friends. They knew how much I loved Skeena, my dog.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they knew how devastated I was, and I didn't pretend I wasn't. And when they wanted to help me, I
Mm-hmm.
accepted their help. When they wanted to give me things, I accepted it with love. And
Mm-hmm.
I am so grateful to myself for being able to do that, grateful to my friends for being there. And I also, I look back on that time and I think, um, I give my friends so much credit for being there for me, but I also know that I curated that for myself in my life by being a good friend to my friends before. And I genuinely love them and I let them love me when I needed it. So that's another thing, is being able to ask for help when you need help. Even it's hard to talk about financial stuff,
Yeah.
but it's such a huge stress on
Mm-hmm.
people, especially when you have, student loans and debt from school, or
Yeah.
a mortgage, and interest rates go up and all of these things. My parents have been extremely generous with helping me, and I've been lucky enough that I've had that from them at times when I've needed it.
Yeah.
Um, but some people don't have that,
Yeah.
and it makes it harder, so much harder. So
Mm-hmm.
again, the luck in my situation. But then sometimes people make it harder on themselves,
Yeah.
where they know that they need a friend, but they don't want to be like a burden to
Yeah.
somebody, so they don't reach out, or they're not clear because they have never considered what they actually
Mm-hmm.
need. So they don't
Mm-hmm.
know how to ask for it because they don't even know themselves what they need.
Yeah.
And those are things, like, that there are times when you need to go out into the forest and
Mm-hmm.
just connect with nature. I know for myself, there's times when I have to, invite friends over and
Yeah.
cook them dinner and hang out with them, or
Mm-hmm.
go for a walk with my friends, or whatever it is that you
Mm-hmm.
need to do to just reconnect. Sometimes for me, it's as much as traveling. Like, I have to book a flight somewhere and go put a backpack on and travel somewhere by myself. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
if I can
Yeah.
do that. I won't be
Yeah.
doing that for a while with our student debt, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And I think there's also a cultural aspect to that too. Because I come from a very collective community and
Mhm.
culture, and there's a lot of things there's a lot of beautiful things to that I experience because of that. Like for example, in times of grief, in times of loss, we're very good at coming together and giving each other the kind of help that's normally quote easy, such as taking care of ourselves, which can be very difficult for some folks, of course. But like taking care of ourselves, taking care of the house, or taking care of our home. And so we give each other the gift of our time and the gift of our presence
Mhm.
to clean up and to cook food and whatever it is. And with that being said, because of that, there's also I noticed this sort of unspoken expectation as well of, oh, you should understand too what people need without them having to tell you, without having them explicitly name what it is they need. And what I've learned a lot in the being like living here now in Canada, and also through my relationships, is that sometimes you need to explicitly state that you need help. That
Mhm.
I like like even the phrase, do you have 10 minutes, do you have 1 hour to to show up for me, or to express your love in this and this manner.
Mhm.
And like when I have used that phrasing, like 100% so far, people have been open to that. People
Yeah.
have said like yes, please let me love you, let me show up for you.
Yeah.
And people like love that opportunity too, because people also like to be of use to those that
Yeah.
they love. And if they can't because they don't have the capacity for it, then they will communicate that too. But regardless of that, it's all like rooted in love. It's all rooted in support and care for each other, and also for ourselves too, and being honest with where we're at right now.
Yeah, and I think I could also segue that whole conversation into how it is so important to have boundaries because it gives people permission to ask you for things. So most of the time, like a lot of people will be able to say yes or no. Some people wouldn't feel like they're able, like my mother isn't, she has a very hard time. Her no is broken, I like to say. So her no is kind of a circular thing. And I, even with my clients, sometimes when I ask them about doing this or that or something, and they seem like a lot of times I'll say that yes sounded a lot like a no. Do you want to talk about that a little bit more? Because it's okay to say no to things, but that's another thing that we've learned, especially in the West. I don't know how it is in collectivist cultures, but saying no is a sign of weakness or not generous or something like that. But I
Yeah.
think being able to say no when you really feel no is actually a generous place to come from
Yeah.
because your no is truth and your yes can be full truth. So people can ask me, I say to my clients all the time, if you're desperate for a massage, if you're in pain or something, you can text me and tell me that you hurt yourself. And if I have space for you and I'm able to do it without like overextending myself, I will find a way to get you in, or I'll put you at the very top of the list when somebody cancels. But if I can't, then I won't. And I don't feel responsible for their pain.
Yeah.
And I'm able to own my yes and own my no, which is basically what boundaries are,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a very beautiful and almost simple way of talking about boundaries, of owning the yes and owning the no.
Hmm.
Because
And
we're,
it gives people permission to ask. If you're not
yes.
somebody who's going to say no when you mean no, then somebody doesn't, they'll have to guess whether they can ask you for something or not. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But just being able to practice our own truth, um, and, and also be like really model that for others too. I think
Mhm.
it, as you said, like it gives us the permission to, um, what did you say? It gives us the permission to,
To make your yes
yes,
and your no
yeah,
your
yeah,
no.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah. And
exactly.
and and it gives other people the permission to ask you to
Yes,
say,
to
can
ask you.
I,
Yeah.
will you, can you do this for me? Or like my good friend Kirsten, who just lives a couple doors down, she knows that I love cooking dinner, and my mother has dementia, and she's over here quite often because if I don't feed her, she doesn't really eat very well. So it's very win-win. She'll come over here and I'll make to my house and I'll make her dinner. And if I'm making her dinner, it's nothing for me to make dinner for her and for Kirsten and her son. And there have been times where she has said to me, this week is going to be crazy. So anytime you're making dinner, can I join in? And I love it because I'm like, absolutely. And I will go out of my way to make sure that I'm making a couple of really good dinners if I can.
Yeah.
And then if I didn't have the capacity for it, I would say no. And she would be okay with that.
Yeah.
She also takes my garbage out every Thursday morning so I can sleep in. So it's a good system.
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. Like really being in relationships where that there's that reciprocity.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And we were talking too about relationships and about being able to, feeling your emotions and not having to feel them alone. And it's that whole next semester you haven't taken, just finished the trauma course.
Yeah.
Next semester, you're going to take the trauma course. And it's really a lot based on Bessel van der Kolk's The Body Keeps the Score. And it's about how do we regulate our nervous systems? And we do that by co-regulating with other people. Um, and I can't wait for you to learn all of that. Yeah. Someday I want to teach a course like that at the massage therapy school. I want to teach they have a pain and stress course there that I was the TA for about a year, and I want to go back and rewrite the curriculum and
Oh, that's
make it all
amazing.
trauma informed.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's so exciting. No, I feel like I'm going to have a little head start, and read that before the actual term starts, just so that I can really enjoy it on my
It's a
own
good book.
pace.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
good. It's real, and it's easy to read too. It's not like super textbooky.
Yeah. Yeah, but honestly, I think we're coming to the end of our conversation here.
No, we just started. See, everything comes to an end.
Yeah, yeah, and that doesn't take away from how beautiful like this conversation was.
Yeah. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. I'm always happy to have the opportunity to talk about myself for, let me talk about enough about you. What do you think of me? No, I can't remember what the
Yeah.
expression is.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, thank you so much. I love talking about these things on such a soulful level, and I'm really passionate about the things that I do. And
Hmm.
you know, I absolutely adore you from the very first day that I saw you in class. So it's so nice to have something extra special to do together. So
Yeah, yeah, no. I I I mean, I also when I started this practicum, I was just thinking and I was looking at because it was I was very new to the disability community here in Vancouver. And I was trying to figure it all out, like who do I want to talk to, and I really want to be intentional with the guests that I have. And then I think it just like dawned on me one day. I was like, Jillian, like, excuse me, she has so many things to share with us, and also just your journey too to get to where you are now, and reclaiming those narratives and all of that. I was like, yes, like and so
Mhm.
I'm really happy that we got this chance, that we got to do this, because I know it was just one heck of a semester.
Yeah, it really
So,
was really condensed and really, really intense. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
and we didn't really talk too much about like the whole massage therapy thing, but I think all of the talk about, you know, feeling your emotions and treating yourself as a whole human being where every aspect, your relationships and your stress management and your connections with other people, all of those things all are interconnected and involve the body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when we zoom out of that, like we also see the web of interconnections too between us and other
Mhm.
species and other and sorry, I'm just looking at this beautiful majestic tree outside
Mhm.
the window right now, and yeah, and all of it, like all the elements too around us, like I like to think that all of them have a way of calling my name and
Mm.
inviting me to remember that I'm not alone.
Tanya, Tanya. That's the tree calling your name.
Yeah, yeah, literally, like the wind going through it, and I'm just like, oh, this is so
Mm.
beautiful.
I don't know if you can hear it right now, but my dog is slurping the water. So that's the way he's calling your name by slurping the water.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's so funny. But yeah, I mean, like, sorry, I know we're like going on again,
Okay.
but that's just also like the stories we tell ourselves too, right?
Yeah.
Like all these little things, they can mean nothing and they can mean everything.
Mhm.
And I tend to make make the stories a little bit more flamboyant.
Hmm. That's good. Where
Because
we get meaning is where we get meaning. And
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yes, absolutely.
You would have been a good English major.
Yeah, I mean that's what I did. I mean, I did Hispanic studies, which was just I
Mhm.
guess yeah, just a Spanish major.
Yeah.
But I love literature, and I just love it when I love prose. Yeah. Well, thank you, Jillian. Is there any way that folks who are tuning in can connect with you?
Um, Yeah, I mean, I'm on social media. I don't post very often anymore, but
Hmm.
mainly Instagram. It's just Gillian Kirk.
Hmm.
Mainly you'll see. photos of my dog and my kittens. I have another dog. His name is Bowen. I got him right after Skeena died. And but yeah, I'm not taking any new clients or patients right now, just because I'm only working part-time.
Okay.
But I'm always happy to chat with people if they want to reach out to me, or if they really have something that they want to ask, they can just get in touch with me through you, I would assume. Yeah.
Amazing. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for your time. Thank you for showing up, Gillian, and for letting yourself be seen.
Absolutely my pleasure. Thank you so much for asking me and having me.
This podcast is brought to you by the Vancouver Adapted Music Society. Since 1988, VAMS has been supporting and promoting musicians with disabilities in Metro Vancouver through various programs, including music lessons, recording projects, and live performance opportunities. To learn more about us, visit our website at www.vams.org, at VAMS Society on Instagram, the Vancouver Adapted Music Society on Facebook, or email us at info@vams.org. Thanks for listening.